was really glad that on the road I saw some arrows. An arrow that was directing me the way I wanted to go. Arrows can be very useful. And I've got one here that's quite interesting because every time you turn it over, it always points the same way. But then sometimes it decides to be a bit awkward. So when you turn it over, it points the other way. And sometimes it can be really confusing. Tell me which way you think it's going to point. Did you get it right? Let's try that again. Which way do you think it's going to point this time? Oh, you see, sometimes it can be a bit confusing and it goes in all sorts of directions. Sometimes people can be a bit like that. They may start off by doing the same thing every day and being what we call predictable. But sometimes people can be a little bit unpredictable and start doing different things. Well, I've got a story for you today about somebody who always did the same thing every day. But one day something happened that really changed his life. So let's start at the beginning. This man did the same thing every day. He did what he loved doing, and that was getting money. He loved money, and he was rich. He had lots of it. But one thing he didn't have was friends. You see, this man, whose name was Zaccheaus, was what was called a tax collector. And that's somebody who collects money from people to give it to those who are in power, to the government, or in his case, the Romans. But Zaccheaus wasn't very honest, and he would take some of the money and put it in his pocket and keep it for himself. He was a thief. And every day he did the same thing, going out, collecting money, getting money for himself, and just enjoying taking things off people. That's why nobody liked him. But one day, something changed. It all started off when he got up from bed. He thought, what shall I do today? I know I'll go out into the streets and see who's around so I can get some money off them. So he got up and he went out. And he looked around and he thought, wow, there's a lot of people here today. That's good. There's more money for me. And then he looked at the street and there was a great big crowd of people there. He thought, I wonder what's going on. And he heard somebody talking. And they said, come on, we've got to go and see Jesus. Zaccheaus stopped. He'd heard about Jesus. He heard about the great things that Jesus was doing, how he made sick people well, how he fed lots of people with a little bit of food, how he was friends to everyone. And suddenly Zaccheaus felt quite lonely. Everybody else seemed to have friends, and he didn't. Have you got a friend? I'm sure you have. It's good to have friends, isn't it? But Zaccheaus thought, I wonder if Jesus would be my friend. I think I'll go and see him. So he started walking up the road. And as he walked up the road, there was this huge crowd of people. The trouble is, Zaccheaus was only about that high, and the people there were about that high. And he couldn't see over the top. He tried stretching, he tried standing on things. He just couldn't see. They were just too big. He couldn't see over their heads. So he thought, I'll go around the crowd. Perhaps there's a gap I can get through. So he walked all the way around the crowd. No way. He thought, let's go the other way. That didn't work either. Well, he thought, I can't go over and I can't go round. Perhaps I'll go under. And he got down on his hands and knees and started crawling through people's legs. But he couldn't get through. There were too many legs in the way. He stood up and scratched his head. How can I see Jesus? And then he had a brilliant idea. He looked down the road. And down the road there was a great big tree. Zaccheaus didn't hesitate. He ran as fast as he could. Now, you don't often see old men running, do you? But Zaccheaus ran. You see boys and girls running, but you don't see older men running. But Zaccheaus ran as fast as he could, and he got to the tree. He looked up. It was really high. But he started climbing, up, 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 until he got to a big branch at the top. And he sat on that branch and pulled all the leaves around him. He thought, this is great. Nobody can see me, and I can see everybody. He watched as Jesus got nearer and nearer and nearer. Everybody there was laughing and smiling and really enjoying themselves, and Zaccheaus felt even more lonely. And then as Jesus came down the road, he stopped right at the bottom of the tree where Zaccheaus was hiding. And Jesus looked up right into the branches. And he said, hello, Zaccheaus. What are you doing up there? And Zaccheaus thought, how does he know my name? How does he know I'm here? And very slowly he pulled back the branches and looked out. And everybody there who had been smiling, they looked up and they saw him and they went, it's him. Nobody liked him. But Jesus was smiling. And Jesus looked at him and he said, Zaccheaus, come down. Today I'm coming to your house. We're going to go and have something to eat together. Well, Zaccheaus came down so fast, and Jesus and him walked up the road to where Zaccheaus lived, and as they went, everybody said, why is Jesus go with him? You know what he's like. He's horrible. He's mean. He's a thief. But Jesus went into Zaccheaus' house, and they sat down together, and they talked, and they had a great time together. And suddenly Zaccheaus began to realize what the problem was. He thought people were just being mean to him, but they weren't. It was because he was being mean to them. And that day Zaccheaus changed. Instead of doing all the things that he'd been doing before, he started doing the opposite things. Instead of taking money off people, he started giving money back. In fact, he said, I'm going to give half of everything I've got to help poor people. And if I've taken anything from anybody wrongly, I'll pay them back 1, 2, 3, 4 times as much. So if he'd taken £1 back, he'd give back £4. If he'd taken £2, he'd give back £8. You can work it out, I'm sure. And that day, Zaccheaus changed. And suddenly he found out that because he was being a friend to people, they were being friends to him. But best of all, that day he became a friend of Jesus. Do you know, it's good to have a friend in Jesus because he helps us. Christians believe that we can talk to Jesus and ask him for help when things go wrong with us. And that's what Zaccheaus found out that day, that Jesus was his best friend. Boys and girls, I'm sure you've got friends, but you know, in the book that Christians read, the Bible, there's a little line and it says something really amazing. It says, if you want to have friends, you've got to be a friend. Just think about that. And just think today, just be quiet for a minute and think, who can I be a good friend to today? Perhaps there's somebody there in your class, in your school, and they're a bit lonely. They don't have anybody around to play with. Or perhaps there's somebody feeling sad. Or perhaps there's somebody who just needs a bit of help. Well, be a friend to them. You don't have to just have one friend. You can have lots. And remember too, that Jesus is our best friend. Boys and girls, thanks for listening. Have a great day and see you again soon. Bye for now.